Now this video has got the internet going crazy because a guy in Melbourne, Australia is quite literally claiming that his dog was playing with a ghost. And after watching this, I bloody believe him. Now he insists that his backyard is fully secured and locked by a high fence where there is no way for another dog to get in. He also said that he ran outside to check if he hadn't lost the plot, and the ghost dog was nowhere to be seen. And if this video hasn't got you contemplating life, another video which has scarred me for life is this bastard. Now keep your eyes on the collar of the black dog on the right. So as you can see, the two dogs are just barking and barking, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, for some reason, they just go completely quiet. A few seconds later, the black dog then randomly jerks backwards into the side of the crate, and its collar comes off of its own accord.
Here are 3 ways that you can survive encountering Cartoon Cat. If you're not aware, Cartoon Cat is a malicious entity with many supernatural abilities, first brought to the public's attention by Canadian horror artist Trevor Henderson. The first rule you'll need to follow in order to have a chance at surviving an encounter with this creature is to avoid exploring any abandoned buildings, and especially abandoned shopping plazas and malls, as these are all places that Cartoon Cat has reportedly frequented in the past. Secondly, if you do encounter this entity, try to use the objects around you to take cover. The Cartoon Cat is a shapeshifter whose limbs can extend to unnatural lengths, so simply trying to put distance between yourself and it is an impossible task. Finally, no matter how desperate the situation becomes, don't ever try to engage Cartoon Cat in hand-to-hand combat. He is known to be the most powerful of Trevor Henderson's creatures, making him more dangerous than the infamous Siren Head, and meaning fighting him is a near-death sentence. Tag a friend if you're watching this at night, and follow for more.
This is why you should never explore abandoned ships. In 2014, the US Navy decided to decommission one of its oldest ships, so it brought it into port to be broken down for scrap. Before workers were allowed to actually start breaking it down, the foreman had to go on board and take pictures of every room. So late one night, the foreman spends about an hour walking through this abandoned ship with a flashlight, taking about 100 pictures. When he was done, he emailed the pictures to his boss, who quickly wrote back, "Who's the guy with the axe?" The foreman had no idea what he was talking about, but he noticed the boss had attached one of the pictures that he had just sent him. When he opened it, he nearly fainted. There, in the bowels of the ship, poking his head around a corner, was a faceless man wielding an axe. The foreman had spent over an hour in this hallway and never heard or saw this guy. The Navy searched the ship and never found this guy. They also reviewed security footage of the only entrance, and he never entered or left the ship.
Here are some facts that you probably didn't know that one day could save your life. Part 6. Have you ever been told that if an alligator is chasing you that you should run in a zigzag pattern? Well, contrary to popular belief, alligators actually aren't stupid and they can run up to 35 miles an hour, so just run straight and run like hell. The more colorful and vivid an animal is, the more likely that it's poisonous and you probably shouldn't eat it. So even though it may look like Skittles, it definitely does not taste like Skittles. Do not drink the milk of brown coconuts. They contain oils that cause dehydration, so you should drink the milk of green coconuts instead. If you're ever in a serious situation where you have AAA batteries but desperately need AA's, ball up some tin foil and put it on the negative side of each battery where it connects. Keep your car keys next to your bed at night. If you hear someone breaking into your house, press the panic button.
Let me tell you about some history that you did not learn in school. A 15-year-old hacked into NASA's computers back in 1999, forcing NASA to shut down part of their entire systems for 21 days after accessing source code that was used for the International Space Station. Harry Truman and Dwight Eisenhower both wanted to abolish the Marine Corps. The Beatles record label sued Sesame Street for making a parody called Hey Food, and they settled it for $50. Illinois had a special license plate for Hurricane Katrina, and Louisiana did not. Many Native Americans fought for the Confederacy during the Civil War. Bear baiting was a popular sport in medieval England where the bear is tied to a stake and made to fight dogs. President William Howard Taft in 1911 replaced the stables with a 4-car garage because the horses could not support his giant size. There was a spy master named Garbo who fed false and outdated intel to Nazi Germany and had a fake spy network of over 27 spies to help him do this.
Hi everyone, welcome to a new series called Celebrities You Didn't Know Were Kidnapped. Today we're going to be talking about the not very well-known kidnapping of Jessica Alba. Now, this is not something that Jessica's talked about publicly, but when she was 15 years old, she was kidnapped from set from her first ever show, Flipper. The story goes that Jessica was filming in Miami when she started receiving weird phone calls. She didn't really think much of it because she figured it was just a fan that got her number. The specific details have never been released, but we know that Jessica was taken for 14 hours and found tied up and blindfolded in the trunk of a car. When she was found, she wasn't able to recount a lot of the details to the police, but also she was severely traumatized and it sounds like she was blindfolded for a lot of it. In general, though, this is just kind of a small part of Jessica's dark past. She was raised in a really religious community that completely shamed her for her looks. Like basically being told it was her fault that older men were looking at her because she was just too pretty. This is just the first of a few stories we're going to tell though, so follow along for more.
How come nobody is talking about these pictures? And wait till the end of the video because it's frightening. Scientists are now being funded by the US military to create giant spiders. I gotta eat something for this one. These spiders are being created in different sizes, with some being as small as a chihuahua to others being as large as a car. Now these spiders will have implanted electrodes in them that send out electric signals throughout the body, so they're easily controlled. Basically, cyborg spiders. They've been testing this with other bugs for years now, but figured that spiders would be the best fit because they can stick on walls and carry out complicated tasks that humans can't usually do, like find their way through buildings hit by earthquakes, or retrieve and climb things hard for humans to reach. They've even created spiders with wings to use as drones, claiming that this is way cheaper than actually building fully functional drones and robots. Wait, before I continue, I'm sorry for eating this food in front of you. Just for making you suffer, your fourth at has to order you pizza now. Let me know who it is so I can tell them I said so. Now the scary part is some spiders have actually been reported of escaping. I'm told that at least 20 giant spiders have escaped in 5 different labs scattered throughout the US. So if I were you, I'd stay inside this summer.
Extra Morbid Facts, Part 104. On December 11, 2002, 22-year-old Alan Menzies murdered his best friend, 21-year-old Thomas McKendrick, inside his home in West Lothian, Scotland. Menzies had become obsessed with the film Queen of the Damned, watching it more than 100 times, and later told police he believed the character Queen Akasha was visiting him and instructing him to kill for immortality. When McKendrick came over that morning, Menzies attacked him with knives and a hammer, claiming the violence was triggered after McKendrick insulted Akasha. After killing him, Menzies drank McKendrick's blood and ate part of his head, stating this was the necessary process to become a vampire. He then placed the body of his best friend in a wheelbarrow and buried it in a shallow grave, where it remained undiscovered for the next 6 weeks. In court, prosecutors revealed Menzies had a long history of serious violence starting at age 14, including multiple stabbings. He literally told the court, if you don't murder somebody, you can't become a vampire. Menzies received a life sentence with at least 18 years before parole eligibility. But in 2004, less than 2 years after the murder, he was found dead in his prison.
The true story behind this real mugshot is incredibly disturbing. This is Caius V. Ovis, otherwise known as Roy Getfinski. I'm going to call him Roy for the rest of this video. In 2014, Roy was found guilty of murdering and dismembering 3 local men in Massachusetts. As it turns out, Roy was a self-proclaimed Satanist and believed he was a vampire with magical powers. According to prosecutors, Roy helped 2 of his friends kidnap these 3 men and shoot and kill them. As it turns out, one of Roy's close friends was a Hell's Angel motorcycle club member. And one of the victims was set to testify against this Hell's Angel member in an assault case in court. But unfortunately, when Roy and his 2 friends went to murder the witness, he had 2 friends with him as well. So that meant that Roy and his murder clique had to kill all 3 of these men. Their names were David Glasser, Edward Frampton, and Robert Chadwell. But this wasn't the first time that Roy had made national headlines for a crime he committed. In 1999, he and his then 17-year-old girlfriend had been accused of assault. Apparently, he and his girlfriend had lured a 16-year-old girl back to their hotel room. They had then sliced the girl's back open with a razor blade, licked the blood off from the wound, and began kissing each other. Police were then called when that 16-year-old girl showed up at a hospital with a 7-inch long gash on her back that required over 30 stitches. And it was back during that trial in the early 2000s when Roy claimed he was a Satanist and a vampire with a thirst for blood. He was then sentenced to 10 years in prison with 3 years suspended. After he was released though and was on parole in 2006, he was arrested again. This time he was arrested for kidnapping and drug possession after he and another male friend held 2 strippers hostage in a hotel room. The kidnapping charges were later dropped, but he was sent back to prison for violating his probation. Then, just a few years later, he would get entangled in this triple homicide, and he was sentenced to life in prison. When images from Roy's home were shown in court, people were somewhat disturbed. Inside of Roy's house, you can see a lot of black candles, ritualistic knives and items, plenty of skulls and crossbones, witchcraft, occult paraphernalia, and a lot of knives and weapons. Now, after Roy was found guilty for his part in these 3 murders, he had some choice words to say to the jury. After hearing the verdict, he looked over at the jury and said, "I'll see you all in hell. Remember that, every effing one of you, I'll see you all in hell." And this whole story makes me wonder what else Roy did in his life that people don't know about yet. Did he have a hand in other crimes? Did he commit other crimes that people don't know about? I don't know, but this story is just flat out disturbing.
Hi. Gracie Watson was born in 1883. Gracie's parents ran the Pulaski Hotel. Gracie was a very extroverted and happy child. Everybody, including the hotel guests, loved her. Sadly, she passed away at the age of 6 years old due to pneumonia. Her grave is marked by a life-size statue with its hand resting on a tree stump to symbolize her life being cut short. After her death, her mother and the Pulaski Hotel staff claimed that they could still hear her laughing and playing in the hotel, as well as sometimes feeling like somebody was pulling on their clothes, and they believed that this was Gracie. Sadly, since then, the Pulaski Hotel has been torn down, so you can't visit it anymore. But you can visit Gracie's grave in the Bonaventure Cemetery in Savannah, Georgia. Many visitors like to leave little gifts for Gracie, like toys, candy, things like that. And some have reported seeing Gracie's spirit around this area. There's also a rumor that if you remove one of Gracie's gifts, the statue here will start crying tears of blood.
This lady was moving crazy. She killed 2 of her ex-husbands in the same day, and when police asked her about her husband, she said which one. This Florida woman is responsible for the death of her 2 ex-husbands. They were both shot to death. This happened in Bradenton, Florida, and when police arrived to his house, they found the guy, almost dead on the floor. They tried to transport him to the hospital, but he didn't make it. He did say that he believed his ex-wife, who he divorced 11 years ago, is behind the shooting, though, before he passed away. Now, they found her 125 miles away from the crime scene, right? Dead man's teen daughter matched the description, the car, everything, back to the ex-wife. Now, this is the part where police asked her about the husband. She said which one, which actually scared them a little bit, to investigate another one of her ex-husbands who was in Tampa, Florida. They went to the Tampa, Florida ex's house, and they found him also dead, shot to death too. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with Florida, I'm from Tampa, so Tampa's here, Bradenton's a little lower down here. They believe that she went to the Tampa man's home first, killed him, and said, you know what, let me just drive like 30 minutes to an hour down, go to Bradenton, and kill the other one. And that's what she did. It's all strongly linking her back to, both of these homicides. They're still currently investigating it, but, the evidence is pretty clear right now. What are your thoughts?
The founder of Adventures with Purpose was just charged with 2 counts of child R. This is a timeline of everything we know. At first, Jared Lasik founded AWP as an environmental cleanup project. He made videos pulling cars out of water and other kinds of trash and debris. But one day he found human remains inside a vehicle, and that video blew up. And that's when he knew he could help people find their missing loved ones who had gone missing in their cars. Most recently, AWP found the body and car of 16-year-old Kylie Rodney, which was incredible because law enforcement couldn't find her for weeks. Since 2019, they've actually solved 23 missing person cases, and they've amassed millions of followers. A couple months ago, though, Jared started showing his face less and less in these videos, but no one knew why. Well, now we know. On November 3rd, Jared Lasik was charged with 2 felony counts of child rape. These documents allege that when he was 17 years old in 1992, he raped a cousin in Utah, and this child was just 10 or 11 years old. Jared's first court date is November 30th. If you want to see the emails where he basically admits to all of this, go to part 2.
This was the moment a routine shoplifting stop inside a Walmart in Canton, Ohio nearly turned deadly. In December of 2025, body cam footage shows 2 suspects, Shane Newman and Katarina Jeffrey, being held in a small back office for questioning when the situation abruptly escalated. As Canton police officers apparently let their guard down, Newman reached into his clothing, pulled out a handgun, and attempted to fire it at an officer from close range. Luckily, the weapon malfunctioned and failed to discharge, a failure investigators say likely prevented a fatal shooting inside the store. The officer immediately moved to restrain Newman as additional officers rushed in to secure the room. Both suspects were taken into custody without anyone being physically injured. Police later confirmed Newman was legally prohibited from possessing a firearm and was also found to be in possession of hard drugs at the time of the arrest. He was charged with attempted murder, felonious assault on a police officer, robbery, drug possession, and having a weapon while under disability. His girlfriend was simply charged with complicity to commit robbery.
Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew, Part 20. During World War II, Disney released their own version of the gas mask, designed to make them less creepy for children. In 2014, after losing her 5-day-old baby boy, a mother attached a gravestone to a sandbox so her older son could play with him. The CPR doll's face that we use today is actually from a 19th century drowned woman's face. There's a forbidden island off the coast of Brazil called Snake Island that's home to more than 2,000 deadly golden lancehead snakes. Starfish actually have hundreds of tiny little feet and are able to walk on land, but it looks absolutely horrifying. A man by the name of Timothy Clark Smith was so fearful that he was going to be buried alive that he had his own gravesite customized so he could have a window where his face was and also have a rope attached to a bell so he could ring it to alert people that he was alive.
This is the disturbing cryptid iceberg with actual evidence behind it. Would have posted this video sooner, but it was my birthday 2 days ago and I was out of town, so I'll make sure I give you guys some good ones to make up for me being gone. Okay, so this picture represents cryptids from the least disturbing to the most, and we've already covered this one, so we're gonna go on to tier 3. This is the Dave Shealy's 2000 skunk ape footage, and what you're seeing is in the Florida Everglades, and you can see this skunk ape just moving. I mean, look how quick it is walking. A lot of people believe that this footage is real just because if you've ever been to the Florida Everglades, there's no way somebody can move that fast. Next one is the ivory-billed woodpecker video, and this was an animal that was supposed to be extinct I don't know how many hundreds of years ago, and this one is actually confirmed. It's gonna be a little tough to see, but you'll see over here this little bird flying like this. I don't know, it's pretty cool to me. This is the Pennsylvania white Bigfoot video, and what you're looking at is supposed to be a Sasquatch. I don't know, it doesn't really look like Bigfoot to me. Interesting about this video is when they posted this video, they put a white Sasquatch was a really big claim, but what they didn't know is in 1973, 2 girls reported seeing the exact same white Sasquatch in basically the same spot. If you guys wanna see tier 4, make sure to like and follow for more videos, and I will see you guys later. Peace out.
Tiki Toby is a creepypasta about a young boy named Toby Rogers. Toby had several disorders, one of them being Tourette's. This caused him to twitch and crack his neck violently, and it's also the reason why the kids at school started calling him Tiki Toby. He also had another disorder which made him numb to pain, like he couldn't feel anything. One day, Toby was in a car crash that resulted in the death of his older sister, Lyra. Toby was very close to his sister. The story describes Toby remembering the crash very vividly. He remembered seeing his sister's forehead pierced with glass shards and her hips and legs crushed under the steering wheel. Toby obviously survived the crash, just with some minor cuts and bruises, and he obviously felt nothing due to his condition. One day, Toby arrived home with his mother and saw that his father was at their house. Toby hated his father, he was a drunk, and he was also very abusive, and he was even too drunk the day that his sister had passed away that he couldn't even drive to the hospital to say goodbye to her. And that irritated Toby a lot. After a very awkward and hostile exchange with his father, Toby went on upstairs to his bedroom. When he entered his room, he went to look out the window and he thought he saw something out of the corner of his eye, but he looked and there was nothing there, so he blamed it on the meds that he was on. Later that night, Toby was having a lot of trouble sleeping. He kept replaying the car crash in his mind, the sound of the tires screeching, and his sister screaming. Frustrated, he got up to look out the window, and that's when he saw a figure standing in the street. He described the figure as being 2 feet shorter than the streetlight. It had no eyes and no mouth, but it still stared up at him. He began hearing a very loud-pitched ringing in his ears, and it grew louder, and eventually everything went black. The next morning, Toby felt very strange, like he couldn't control himself. And in the days that followed, Toby barely left his bedroom. The story mentions that he would pace back and forth in his room like a caged animal and just stare out the window. He began chewing on his own hands and ripping the flesh from them. His mother walked in on him doing this one day and quickly wrapped them in bandages and made him promise that he wouldn't do this again. And then Toby's mental health took a turn for the worse. He was missing days, hours, and weeks in his memory, as well as talking nonsense and having strange hallucinations. His mother became more worried about him and took him to see a mental health professional. When he was in the office and answering this woman's questions, he looked out the window and saw the figure again. Later that night, Toby heard footsteps in the hallway. He got up to check what it was, and as he approached the door slammed in his face. He opened the door and looked down the hallway, and all he heard was what sounded like a child's giggle and footsteps running away. Stepping out into the hallway, he called for his mom, and then the door slammed behind him. He then turned around and saw his dead sister. I'm gonna have to make a part 2.
Here are all the horror movies that released this week and where you can watch them. First up, New Year's Eve. This one you can stream on Screambox. This is about 3 best friends who are preparing for Hooper Industries' annual New Year's Eve party, which turns deadly when a murderer sets his sights on them. Afraid, you can rent this one on video on demand. This is about a group of 5 daring high school friends who take a weekend trip to the woods during Halloween, and what starts off as a thrilling adventure quickly turns deadly. The Plantation, you can rent this one on video on demand. An interracial couple takes a backpacking trip deep into the remote Louisiana swamps where they encounter sinister forces at an old plantation hell-bent on turning the past into the present. No More Time, you can rent this one on video on demand. A couple seeks refuge in a remote mountain town to escape a mysterious viral disease that makes people either disappear or turn into murderers. And as messengers emerge from the forest, the couple must decide who to trust and what to do to survive. And lastly, The Housemaid, you can watch this one in theaters. A woman with a troubled past accepts a job as a live-in maid for a wealthy, seemingly perfect family, but what begins as a dream job quickly unravels into something far more dangerous.
This 5-year-old girl trusted 3 older kids who wanted to be her friend, but it nearly costed her life. On September 13th of 2025, Amari Jones stayed with a trusted family member in Cleveland, Ohio, while her mother, Antavia, underwent a medical procedure. What should have been a normal day turned into every parent's worst nightmare. At some point during that day, the family member noticed that Amari was missing. They searched, they panicked, and when they couldn't find her, police were called. Antavia was notified, and once she arrived, she ran straight to the EMS vehicle and she saw her daughter unresponsive and severely injured. She stated that her daughter was almost unrecognizable due to the trauma she had suffered. Earlier that day, Amari had been approached by 3 children, 2 boys who were 8 and 9 and a girl who was 10 years old. These children presented themselves as friendly, and once Amari gained their trust, they took her by the hand and led her to a nearby field which was far away from the adults. Amari was excited because she believed that these children wanted to be her friend and play with her, but that was far from the truth. These sick-minded children end up attacking Amari and don't stop until she falls unconscious. Once she's unconscious, they start beating her, pull out her hair, and even take off her clothes. With her clothes, they tie it around her neck to strangle her, and the torture didn't end there. Those 3 children then grab sticks to essay this 5-year-old girl, and before leaving, they urinate all over her. This was not an accident. This was not kids just playing around. This was deliberate harm on a 5-year-old child. After the attack, Amari was left alone in the field, naked and bleeding. While Amari's family member continued searching for her, she unknowingly asked 2 of the children that had attacked her if they had seen her, and they said no and continued playing. But eventually, one of those children told his mother what he did to Amari, and they went back to the family member to tell them where Amari was. Medical professionals stated that if Amari wasn't found when she most likely wouldn't have survived. And this is where the case takes a devastating turn. Despite the severity of what Amari endured, authorities told her mother that 2 of the children couldn't be criminally charged because of their age. To her, it felt like the system was saying that her daughter's suffering didn't qualify for justice. Thankfully, Amari did survive, but she is deeply traumatized. Amari is struggling behaviorally and emotionally. She's in therapy and has a hard time talking about what happened. Montavia is also dealing with her own trauma, stating that she has sleepless nights, loss of appetite, and has a constant fear that justice will never come for her daughter.